Up next, we have Susan Randall from Iync. As a reminder, please keep on writing down those questions because we're going to go through them fast and we're going to go into the discussion.
All right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good meeting? Everybody I've talked to sounds like it. I'm really delighted to be here this morning to share a few thoughts with you, and I am going to be pretty quick because we want to get to questions. Let me just tell you a little bit about my career. I've got 28 years of experience in the nuclear industry. I am an operator, so you're going to get the operator's perspective today. I started out with a degree in nuclear engineering, went to MIT, and got my bachelor's and my master's there. And then over my career, I've worked for 3 different companies. I worked for a small consulting firm originally. Then I worked for a single unit utility, and now I work for Exelon. And we have recently merged with Constellation. You may know that. And we are now have about 35,000 megawatts of generation. More than half of it is nuclear. But we do have wind, solar, hydro, gas, coal, so really a very large generating company with about 27,000 employees. We are the largest competitive generator of electricity in the United States. So we are, what that means is that we're not guaranteed a return on our investment. We are not guaranteed, certain rate deals or arrangements. So when we talk about some of the impacts, certainly the price of natural gas is having a big impact on us, not that it doesn't impact the regulated utilities as well. The other thing I should tell you is I am very committed to NAYGN. I'm the executive sponsor for our chapters at Exelon, and I'm also on the advisory committee for the North American organization, so very excited about that. So as I said, I'm really going to give you an operator's perspective, and I just have one slide, so I'm going to kind of use that as an outline to hit a couple of topics. First and foremost, nuclear energy, nuclear power is essential, I believe, for the world. We are the largest safe, clean, abundant energy source, and clearly there's different views throughout the world, especially post-Fukushima. But, I don't believe, speaking for United States energy policy, which, just my opinion, we don't want to have, nuclear is a key part of that, but it's certainly, I would never be an advocate for having only nuclear power. I think that we need a mix. But I absolutely believe that nuclear power is a key part of that energy mix. So if you look at Exelon today, Exelon Nuclear has 17 reactors that I'm directly responsible for in my oversight role as the Chief Operating Officer. But then we also, in the merger, have Iync, which is a joint venture between Constellation and EDF in France. There's another 5 reactors there that we have, they're part of our company, but they are in a separate operating unit, so to speak. We view ourselves as top performing. We're top quartile in most major indicators, and those where we're not, we're constantly striving to achieve top quartile, top decile performance. We do have a standardized management model, so we operate the plants very consistently. And probably the most important pieces are these last 2 bullets of having strong leaders and engaged employees. So you look at that on a day-to-day basis, that's my life, that's what I'm responsible for. There's an adventure a minute, and it's really, I really enjoy what I do. But if you follow the top arrow over to, if you can't read it, it says maintain and improve. So, once you get, things going pretty well, it's not easy to continually strive for improvement, even above and beyond what you're currently doing. And certainly you want to maintain where you do have strong performance, and that really results in every day, every task, every hour, striving for excellence. And when we talk about the future of nuclear energy, clearly the only way any of us is going to have a future is if we operate the plants that we've got today safely. And we recognize that, we consider that our paramount responsibility, and everything we do is geared toward that. But now I'll take you to that bottom bubble and talk about the future a little bit. and recognizing that, you know, we know how to run the plants and they run well, but there are a lot of things where, you know, times are changing, standards are changing, what's excellent in the world is changing, and we have to really look at innovation and opportunities that we have to do our business even better in order to take advantage of that and continue to be a strong operator. And I hit 4 things there in the bubble that I want to just touch on briefly. Changing demographics. You know, you've heard from the previous speakers discussion about, you know, the average age in nuclear, and given, you know, just our history, we really need everybody in this room to be active in your careers, and we want to make sure that you develop as quickly as possible, because a lot of us want to retire, and there's a lot of us. And, you know, not yet, but in a few years I'll be thinking more seriously about that, and I look around, you know, the executive team at Exelon, for example, even looking at the plant managers, site vice presidents, and our average age is, you know, 50-ish, late 40s. Well, then there is a pretty big gap, and then there's this great peak that's in the 20-somethings, and we really need those 20-somethings to very quickly get ready to be our future directors and plant managers and vice presidents. So, and right now, I was talking to some folks before we started, when you talk about innovation, first of all, I do not have a Facebook account. Don't look for me, don't ask me to be your friend, at least in that sense. And I still carry a pager so that people who see me think I'm waiting for a heart transplant. That is like kind of my level of technology. And so, you know, when you talk about being able to use your iPhones with each other to look up apps to do translations, because you're meeting somebody from another country and you're looking for a word, like, that's just not my world. But that's what it's got to turn into, because you are the future and this is what you're used to. So a couple of things I'll hit on really talks about getting ready for, you know, what I would call the new leadership that's coming. Changing regulation, you heard quite a bit about that from Commissioner Magwood. Clearly has an impact, and in some cases causes us to look at things differently, figure out innovative ways to change. We talked about economics with price of natural gas. Good for the country, in the United States, no doubt about that, but is having an impact on nuclear just in terms of profitability. Yes, we're still profitable, but it puts us in a situation where we want to get, you know, even more so. And then changing global needs, just, you know, the world at large, where's the technology, or where is nuclear's future across the world, and what other technologies are there. So I'm going to touch on one of the arrows there that goes down to the left on isotope production, because that may be of interest to you. So while I said I was an operator, if I hadn't been a nuclear engineer, I would have been a doctor. So I was really excited when General Electric approached us a few years ago and said, you know, the Chalk River plant in Canada is the main producer of cobalt-60 for medical usage, you know, gamma knives and implants, things like that. And there are about 15 million cancer treatments per year that need that technology. And I think Chalk River is set to close its doors at some point in the mid, over the next several years. I keep hearing that there may be an ability to revitalize it, but clearly we don't have a long-term solution. And if you were to build a new research reactor just to generate cobalt-60, it would cost about $100 million or more. So General Electric approached us with a technology that we're currently using at our Clinton station, which is a boiling water reactor, where you replace individual fuel rods in a standard fuel bundle with cobalt-60 targets, put it in the core like you would normal fuel. You can do it in a way that it doesn't impact your ability to run for the full 2-year cycle that we have at Clinton. And it gets irradiated in the reactor core over time. And then also, as Commissioner Magwood mentioned, you know, even non-nuclear reactors still come under the auspices of the NRC. So we had to work through license amendment and all the appropriate, you know, safety analyses to make sure that this was not going to have any kind of an adverse impact on the plant or the public, which we did. And So anyway, we replaced a number of fuel rods and a number of bundles. We're still in the testing phase, but it gets irradiated over the life cycle, the fuel cycle of the plant, and then when you get to the refueling, you take out that bundle, it goes in the spent fuel pool, and then you have a campaign to harvest the cobalt-60 afterwards. So it's still in very preliminary stages, still in that testing period, but been through one cycle now. You know, everything from a design perspective seems to work very well, and it's just an example of taking, you know, the operational requirements on a daily basis and turning them into, you know, using innovation to do something good for the world, but also something that, you know, makes it more interesting for us and gives us some additional challenges. So I think I will stop there and then look forward to your questions in a few minutes. Thank you.